This is the real exciting camera upgrade.
1-inch sensor.
A bigger camera sensor is a big deal. This is part one of two videos looking at the pros and some of the cons of upgrading a camera sensor. Smartphone cameras have gotten really good over the last couple years, often thanks to improved software processing. But that hardware matters too. Feeding better data to that software will improve the output of your photos. We understand that bigger sensors are more desirable for a lot of consumers in standalone cameras. The market for smaller mirrorless sensor cameras is shrinking, and there's less investment in delivering new lenses for cameras like mine here. There are a number of advantages that come with more sensor surface area, and the same holds true for our phones. Moving up to the 1-inch type sensor is an impressive tech accomplishment. Here's why. Reason number one, low light performance. A larger sensor has more surface area to soak up light. Now, we've certainly been impressed with software, HDR, and these new night modes, even on older phones. But if the sensor can soak up more light, it helps the software put out a brighter image faster. A couple of years ago, phones took longer to scan a scene like this. Now with a 1-inch type sensor, we can pop out a brighter image with better color and detail in less time. You don't have to hold still as long, and your phone should be less prone to motion blur. This also improves action photos in daylight, giving you faster shutter speeds to work with in freezing action. Reason number two, better bokeh. Yes, a software portrait mode can cut you out of a photo and apply a fake looking blur behind you, but if you want a more photographic image, you probably want more natural lens blur. The blur from a lens is not as uniform as a software portrait mode. Objects closer to your subject should be more in focus. Objects farther should be less in focus. That focus fall off is one visual cue we can use to see if this is lens blur or software blur. Using a larger sensor means changing the lens to get a similar field of view, and we end up with a significant difference in that depth of field. Namely, it gets a lot shallower, it gets a lot blurrier. This is a more broadly complicated topic when we look at optics and apertures, but the TLDR, a 1-inch sensor, can demonstrate shallower depths of field. This helps you isolate your subject and helps minimize distractions behind your subject. And reason number three, better pixel level detail. When we play with bigger pixels on cameras, we can often point to some trends like detail, clarity, and better noise in our images. These new megapixel sensors use all kinds of tricks to make resolution sound more impressive. 50 megapixels, 108 megapixels, 200 megapixels, but they all kind of create 12 megapixel stills in most of your camera modes. 12 megapixels is where you get that big pixel size. On a 1-inch type camera sensor shooting at 12 megapixels, the pixel size is nearly identical to the pixels on my Lumix G9. The sensor level performance of this 1-inch type sensor is closing in on micro Four Thirds cameras. And when we zoom into tiny details on comparable photos, the 1-inch type sensor is much closer to my nicer and more expensive camera than any of the phones that use a smaller sensor. This helps noise look a little less grainy, and we already know that we can use a lower ISO than a smaller sensor phone camera for even less noise and grain in our images. We get better clarity, better performance, and our photos look more photographic. Now, wrapping all this up, bringing this plane in for a landing, these improvements should highlight something specific. There's a consumer out there that's interested in more photographic composition and better hardware capabilities for driving a phone camera in more challenging conditions. Cameras are not one thing, and they should not be judged on a simple linear score of gooder or badder. Is why you'll see in so many camera comparisons. I took a regular snapshot kind of photo in really good light from an expensive phone and from an inexpensive phone, and they kinda look the same. The core point and shoot, casual snapshot style of photography has been really well covered since, 2015. I can put up a photo from an LG G4 in good light and it's still gonna be a great photo by today's standards. Today, that's camera performance we should easily be able to expect from a $300-ish Android phone. You should not be spending more to cover those kinds of good light snapshot photos. You really should have more specific needs and wants to spend more than $400. There are fantastic reasons to spend more than $400, but it's not gonna make as much a difference to a low-level, average consumer kind of photography. But that's where this conversation takes a turn. See, you can't just pop in one hardware component and expect it to be a perfect top-to-bottom improvement in all areas. We can't beat optical physics. Cramming this hardware into a phone comes with huge benefits, but it also comes with a few compromises, and you'll have to wait for part 2 to get those compromises. But in the meantime, while I'm trying to edit that second video, have you tried shooting on a phone with a true 1-inch type sensor? What have your experiences been like? Have you had to deal with other techies acting like this is just a marketing gimmick? Drop some comments down below and make sure you smash that bell icon on your way down. As always, thanks so much for watching, for sharing these videos, subscribing to the channel. All the support lately has been absolutely fantastic. If you're clicking on the links, visiting my home site, SomeGadgetGuy.com, maybe shopping a little merch, or if you're joining the list of names scrolling by on your screen from a Patreon, patreon.com/SomeGadgetGuy. This list is basically the coolest collection of tech pals in the universe, so I hope you'll check them out. Now, you know where you can find me around the rest of the internet, at SomeGadgetGuy on the Twitters and the Twitch. I'm trying to revive a Flickr account for better sharing of higher resolution photos. Maybe check that out too. And a little less so on the Instagrams or the Facebooks, but I will catch you all on the next video.